Do you have friends and family that don't support you in your dreams and goals, or even worse, they criticize you at every opportunity you get? Take a deep breath, and before you go on a rampage, before you go and cut everyone out of your life, and before you go and sulk in your own room like a misunderstood hero or a victim, watch this video, because I've been through this myself. So what I want to do is shed some light on this issue and tell you some practical things that you can do moving forward. So first of all, notice that most of it is well intended, but there are multiple layers of disconnect happening. First of all, you don't understand where they're coming from because you're not them. You only see like 2% of who other people are. And that's with the people that are closest to you. You know way more about yourself and your own psychology than you do about anyone else. And the same goes for them as well. So when they give you any criticism, when they give you any harsh feedback, they are seeing it through their lens, not yours. Likewise, you are doing the same thing to them. Whereas you don't see where they are coming from, what's going on inside of their minds. And on top of that, people don't see you for who you are today. Not entirely, at least. They always see you in some degree as who you were before. So realize that if you, for example, met someone when you are struggling a lot, to some degree, people will still hold on to that image of you where you are struggling. And once you now go and improve yourself, still remnants of that first image are there. Over time, it shifts, but not immediately. So I had this, for example, when I had a couple of failed businesses when I was like 17, 18, 19. The people who knew me back then, and a few years later, when I started something new, those people are like, this is never gonna work. But the people I knew around the time of starting anew, those people that didn't know those past failures, they hear my ambitions, they hear that I'm bright, and they're like, you know what, I think you can do it. Because to them, that first impression that got imprinted, that was something of someone who's ambitious and highly driven. It's kind of like when a chicken hatches, or some kinds of birds. They imprint on the first living being that they see. And they say, oh, that's my mother, that's my father. It's the same kind of thing when you meet other people. They make their first impression of you after like 1 or 2 or 3 interactions. And that's something that slowly shifts over time from there on. So please keep that in mind. So moving on to the next bit of this. People want to protect you more often than not. It's not that they're against you. 9 out of 10 times, or even 99 out of 100, that is not the case. We're talking about friends and family here. People who are in your corner. But the thing is, they see it through their lens. So for example, if your father started a business and it failed utterly, and now you are trying to start a business, those fears from his days, his past experiences, are going to be passed on to you. So he failed. In his mind, it made the impression that business is dangerous, it's going to ruin you financially. And then when you come to him like, Dad, I'm going to start a business, he's going to be like, oh no, that's dangerous and it's going to ruin you financially. His experience gets passed on to you. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if he, for example, saw you fail 3 times before, he's going to think, well, based on what I've seen so far, the 4th time is going to be the same, so I want to prevent this. So please understand that people are not against you. Through various kinds of lenses that people have, their past experiences and their experience with you as well. Through those experiences, people form their own opinions, people form their own view of the world. And what happens when other people don't support you or criticize you or prevent you from going in a certain direction? What happens is that your vision, your ambition clashes with what they think is a good path. Those things clash and you experience it as everyone is against me. One other factor that I'm going to give you before I get to the practical advice. And by the way, if this viewpoint is already helpful, give this video a quick thumbs up. But one thing I'm going to give you here is the spotlight effect. The other day I saw a video from Mark Manson where he wore like a chicken suit and he was walking across a boulevard. And most people wouldn't even look at it. Or maybe would just turn their heads like this and then go about their day. The thing is, we are in our own heads and minds all the time. And so we think that all the spotlights and all the eyes are on us. But other people, they feel the same way. But because of this spotlight effect, we tend to really overestimate how much people think about us. So once you get inside of your own mind and you're like, oh, everyone is against you, because you keep repeating it over and over and over again in your mind, where you live 24/7, you start to view everything through that lens without seeing the outside perspective. And then one final thing that just came to mind is the following. When people hear your dreams, your goals, your ambitions, what you need to realize is that they're measuring your ambition by their work ethic. So if you want to have a 10 out of 10 goal and they're at like this level, they're going to say, oh, that's not possible. Because they are judging your goals, your dreams, your ambitions by what they think is possible for them. And also they judge it through the lens that other people want to see you succeed. But they don't want you to succeed more than them most of the time. Because the truth is, once you start achieving your goals, it becomes blatantly obvious that they had the same potential, but they didn't take advantage of it. So you then become the shining light of what they could have been. Most people's ego, it can't stand that thought. So they want you to grow up until a certain point where they are, and then they don't want you to go to that next level. So that's something that is not with malicious intent. It's not even conscious most of the time. But it's a deeply rooted insecurity in a lot of people that keeps them try to keep other people at bay, so to speak. So please be aware of all of these things inside our minds. So now that you have a good understanding, what can you do? The first and most obvious thing is to stop discussing certain topics. I do this, for example, with my father. Of course, he's my dad. I'm not going to cut him out of my life. But I'm not going to talk about business. I'm not going to talk about finances. I'm not going to talk about my careers. I have drawn a line in my head of saying these topics, they're off the table. I'm not going to discuss this with him. Because honestly, he's one of those people who has a problem for every solution. So when it comes to these things, he's constantly in the danger kind of mindset. Whereas I am building and looking for opportunity. And even though, as you can see by the view count, this channel is not successful yet, I know it will happen once I take the consistent steps of action. But until that point, I will not discuss it, because he will only see the danger side of it without me having proven the upside. So the first thing is that you can literally say, look, I don't want to discuss this topic with you, period. That is one thing. And then you can still continue talking about other things as well. But at some point, you have to move on to a second stage, where you just distance yourself partially. Maybe instead of talking to your mother, who always puts you down 3 times a week, maybe you talk 2 times in 2 weeks. You still have to contact, but it's less often. In some extreme cases, you might want to say, you know what, I am done. This is of course easier with friends or acquaintances than it is with family, but you can still decide, you have always put me down so much that I don't want this. It's going to bring both of us down, and I am not going to be dragged down by you. Before you do this, however, keep in mind all the things I said in this video of looking through their eyes, not your own, of looking at the perspective shifts, of looking at the intent, not just the behavior, and looking at their view of the world. Because chances are, they think they're doing the right thing. They don't think they're being, like, quote unquote toxic. And I even hate that word. But they might think they're doing the right thing, and you cutting them off without any conversation, without you pointing it out, that might be a bit harsh and hasty. So you might want to have a discussion and a talk where you put your feelings on the table beforehand. But then on the other hand, let's flip to the positive things you can do. You have this thing available to you that you can use. It's called the internet. There are groups for everything. If you want to lose weight, you can literally just go to Reddit or some Facebook groups to find buddies with whom you can lose weight together. Same thing with fitness, same thing with business. You can always find like-minded people. Same thing if you want to learn the guitar or you want to learn frisbeeing. There are going to be people who are into that stuff as well. And people who are into the same things, who have the same goals, they have a similar worldview. Because if they didn't believe it was possible to start a business from scratch, or if they didn't think it was possible to lose weight, or if they didn't think it was possible to do whatever, to learn a new language or a new skill, they wouldn't be into that themselves. So by finding those groups, you already find people who are at least directionally in the same alignment as you. It might not be 100%, but it's at least better, to a point where you can find support online. And then, of course, even better if you find those people close to you in real life. So that would always be my recommendation. Rather than just going for all of the negatives, cutting off everything, like slashing everything out of your life. You don't need to do that. But do add in those positives. And by the way, you can also do this with YouTube. You can also do this by listening to podcasts and listening to people who uplift you. You need to have some form of support. And even if that's just an audio in your ears, that helps as well. And on that note, subscribe to this channel, by the way. But find people like-minded that will help you, support you. And once you find those people, don't easily let them go, because those are rare. The people who have like this level of success themselves and are over the top when you get there, those are rare, like I talked about with the ego thing. Once you find those people who will cheer you on, who will clap you up, and who will support you, those are golden. So go and find those, rather than reminiscing about how you are the misunderstood victim. That does not work. So either limit topics, limit interactions, or limit people altogether, and find those who do support you on their goals. That is the crucial thing, to find a more supportive network and build that like a web around yourself. So with that said, give this video a quick thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next video.